just using 4G, about 650 megabits per second. We can do that today. We have been doing that. Those sorts of things are available. The US moving down the line of deploying 5G over millimetre wave was necessary because of the constraints they have in this thing called C-band spectrum. But the good thing is companies like AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile, by trying this 5G technology, even if it's with our competitors, you start to learn about where the business opportunities are. We can see by 2025 somewhere around almost 300 billion in GDP improvement globally. Now, what the US is good at, if it was all connected, what the US is great at is pulling that data up. Look at what Google and Amazon and Microsoft and the others do, and applying leading AI. Why not let Huawei come in here and provide the best technology for connectivity and work together with the Trump administration and improve society?
Paul, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you coming in. It's good to hear the perspective from Huawei. That's Paul Scanlon. He's CTO of the Huawei Carrier Business Group. And this is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and Radio.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You don't usually find the titans of finance, business, and politics sitting around together.
There's been this transfer of royal power and royal prerogative.
But amazingly, they're nearly all here every weekday.
Let's talk about their data. What are you looking for?
Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene and Jonathan Farrow.
So where does the circuit breaker come from?
Weekday mornings at 7 Eastern.
He's got to respond, doesn't he?
On Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'm David Weston. It is time now for the stock of the hour. Netflix is one of the best performers on the S&P 500 today. The stock is rallying about 4% after international subscribers came to the company's rescue in the third quarter. Kaylee Lyons is here with more. I didn't know they needed rescuing.
They did a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
sentiment was so bad going into this print, and I think this is a case of it could have been a lot worse. The headline number on subscribers, which is what we really care about for Netflix, actually did come in a little bit light compared to the company's guidance. But as you said, international subscribers came in stronger than the street was expecting, 6.3 million additions. That helped offset the U.S., which was a little bit weaker, only 520,000 additions. Although keep in mind that in the second quarter, U.S. subscriptions actually had fallen off, so this is a little bit better. It also is because of higher prices that those subscriptions have been coming down a bit, and that leads to more profits and more revenue. So that's kind of what the street and the market is taking well today. And the fourth quarter guidance as well. Remember, that's when Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus are coming online. Big, fierce competitors potentially, but the company still says they see subscriber additions of about 7.6 million in the fourth quarter. So that may be a sign that they are going to be able to withstand that competition, although, of course, that's going to cost more money, David. Still see that $3.5 billion free cash flow deficit for the year.
Although the race hasn't really quite started yet with Disney and Apple. We'll see. Okay, many thanks to Bloomberg's Kaylee Lyons. Up next, Tusk and Juncker are holding a news conference on Brexit. The latest on the deal ahead. This is Balance of Power, and we are on Bloomberg Television and on radio.
This This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. U.S. stocks are mixed. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 25 points to 26,976. S&P 500 up 3 points. The Nasdaq climbing 8. Well, Nestle's will return $20 billion to shareholders by the year 2022. The giant food company also says 9-month sales growth rose 3.7%, meeting estimates. Work began on new single-family homes at the fastest pace since January, but the government reports a sharp drop in new construction of apartments and condos. General Motors' month-long strike caused total U.S. factory production to fall in September by the most in 5 months. And GM's Union Leadership Council decides today whether to recommend a new tentative contract to its members and whether to call an end to the strike while members vote on the deal. Donna Wilson, Bloomberg Radio.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com. And feel the power. Member FINRA, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
You know your body, and you know when something's off, when something doesn't feel quite right. Don't ignore symptoms like fatigue, joint pain, rashes, and fever. They could be signs of lupus. Listen to your body. Take care of yourself. We're here to help you take control of your health. Learn how at BeFierceTakeControl.org. Brought to you by the Lupus Foundation of America and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Even hardcore do-it-yourself types appreciate having us curate our best moments for you in one show every day.
The company will expand its catalog more frequently over several months.
Otherwise, it's just too hard.
The DNC will officially announce who made the cut.
Bloomberg Best with June Grosso and Ed Baxter.
They discuss sanctions against Iran.
Weekday evenings at 5 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
From New York, this is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and on radio. I'm David Weston. For Bloomberg First Word News, we go now to Mark Crumpton.
David, as we've been reporting, European leaders have unanimously endorsed the Brexit deal, formally sending to the British Parliament for ratification. They're holding a news conference on that deal right now. You're looking at it. That is the Irish Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, speaking to reporters in Brussels. The British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has pledged to take the country out of the EU on October 31st. He said today's agreement means a new delay is necessary. Johnson still needs Parliament to agree, though, and a previous deal was rejected 3 times. His political rivals and some crucial allies have said they won't back this latest agreement, putting its future in doubt. Turkey is rejecting a U.S. demand for a ceasefire in northern Syria. President Recep Erdogan met today with Vice President Pence. A top Turkish official described the 2 NATO allies as being miles apart. Erdogan says that he won't halt the fighting until the Kurdish militants withdraw from an area along the border. The U.S. ambassador to the European Union is trying to distance himself from President Trump during closed-door testimony before House committees today. A whistleblower's complaint said Gordon Sondland advised Ukrainian leaders on how to handle President Trump's demand for an investigation of a political rival. Sondland said the president told him to deal with Rudy Giuliani on Ukraine and that he realized later that the president's personal lawyer had an agenda to get Ukrainian help with the 2020 re-election campaign. A key figure in the impeachment inquiry and fierce critic of President Trump is dead. Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings of Maryland was chairman of the House Oversight Committee. His office said he died in Baltimore overnight due to complications from long-standing health challenges. Cummings' committee is one of 3 panels investigating the president's activities in Ukraine. Cummings was 68. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell praised Cummings as, quote, a living legend. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. I'm Mark Crumpton. This is Bloomberg. David?
Thank you very much, Mark. As Mark just reported, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has struck a deal with the EU, and EU leaders are now holding a news conference right at this very moment. So now the Brexit agreement has to make it through the UK Parliament, where it's already facing some opposition. 3 officials from Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party have already said that they will not support it. Our next guest wrote yesterday, before the deal was announced, quote, that wall of endorsement might crumble if the DUP withheld their blessing, and EU officials believe Johnson won't give the green light to a deal unless he's sure the DUP will back it. But maybe the DUP can be bought off by promises of billions of extra cash from Westminster for Northern Ireland. Joining us now is the person who wrote that from London. It's Bloomberg opinion columnist Therese Raphael. So, Therese, I had you on specifically to say, okay, now what do you think after it's done? Let's take a look specifically to begin with that DUP question. Is it right that Boris Johnson probably didn't agree to this without knowing he can get the DUP to come around, even though right now they're objecting to it?
Yeah, I think Boris Johnson probably made a two-way bet here. He may very well have done the deal knowing that the DUP was not happy with it. And his calculation might have been, look, either the DUP are brought on board by the time there is a vote or by the time there is a second vote, and we can come to whether there'll be more than one vote here, or for once it doesn't matter, that he has built enough momentum and enough goodwill in seeking and striking a deal that either he can get it through Parliament without the DUP, or if it falls, the blame will not be on him, but it will be on the DUP and Parliament. So I think, from Johnson's perspective, this is a win-win.
Well, and does he have a checkbook that he could help on that first of your 2 alternatives, essentially, that maybe the DUP would change their mind if there are a lot of subsidies coming their way?
Well, it's hard to imagine that there's more on that front that he hasn't already thrown at them and offered them in the run-up to this. The question for the DUP really is what more they can get out of this government. And their point of maximum leverage really may have passed, as I wrote in a column today. I mean, if the deal were to fail, for example, the DUP would get some of the blame. They may be hurt in the elections in Northern Ireland. If a Johnson government were to have a parliamentary majority in which it didn't need the DUP help, then the DUP wouldn't have the kind of leverage it has now. So there are a number of scenarios in which you can look at it and say, actually, the DUP don't have much to gain from holding out. That's how the DUP have a long and storied history of defending what they see as unionist interests, no matter what the arguments are for them to agree to a compromise.
We're talking with Therese Raphael. She's a Bloomberg opinion columnist. So, Therese, you mentioned the fact that maybe there's enough goodwill because he got the deal done that he could actually get this through Parliament Saturday. Is it that, or are people just tired of it?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. There is great weariness in the country of Brexit. It's been, 3 years, been endless negotiations, 3 votes in Parliament. It didn't look like a Johnson government was going to make any headway, so it's a significant achievement that it has. And by the way, that's come because of compromises on all sides, from UK, from Dublin, and from the EU. But the numbers are very tight in Parliament. He needs 320 votes. He doesn't have it now. A lot depend on whether the sort of hardline, very pro-Brexit conservatives in his party who've aligned themselves with the DUP in the past can now break with the DUP if they don't vote for Johnson's deal and vote themselves with the Prime Minister. And I think the case for them to do so is quite compelling, but we really won't know until Saturday how that breaks out.
And there is a general election coming up at some point in the not too far distant future. To take us through the calculus of the people in Parliament, because necessarily that will inform their vote on Saturday to some extent. That is to say, how does it position themselves and their party in that general election when it comes?
Well, for the Conservative Party, it's very straightforward. Johnson would like to get this deal through, and then that removes any obstacle that the opposition had to block an election. It needed opposition support. So if he gets his deal through, he will ask for elections in very short order. I think we'd see them before the end of November even. For the Labour Party, it is a difficult one. They're down in the polls. If he gets his deal through, it will leave the Labour Party having to reevaluate their strategy, and they won't really have an excuse to deny him elections. So in that case, I think we are likely, still to see new elections. The only thing is if Johnson thinks he could have a second vote to try to get the deal through before October 31st. Because remember, his entire sort of campaign is on this promise of getting Brexit done.
How important are the Liberal Democrats here? Because they evidently have said they want a new referendum. They want to go back to square one.
Yeah, I think the Liberal Democrats, Johnson knows he can't count on their votes. It's not clear yet whether there would be a parliamentary majority for a referendum on this deal. I think that's something that's being discussed. So far, there's not been a parliamentary majority for any kind of second referendum, but it's not impossible that the Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party could get together. But now, we have to remember a referendum will take time. That would require an extension and some months of putting it together. And there's just not a lot of appetite, I think, in Parliament to drag this thing out. And some MPs, especially those in marginal constituencies, may worry they'd be punished in the polls if they just didn't get it done now. And that's what Johnson's counting on.
Something else that might take time is actually getting the legislation to implement the deal if they get the deal approved. How long will that take? Is there any chance that, in fact, the Great Britain will be out of the EU by October 31st?
Well, I think what we saw with the Benn Act, which was before Johnson suspended Parliament, they rushed through legislation that would force him to ask for an extension. Nobody thought that was possible to do in that length of time. And I think that's made the government and many reevaluate how long it would take. That said, Johnson does not have a parliamentary majority. He may need those DUP votes to get the legislation necessary to complete this deal passed. So, I think that's an open question. But if he needed to ask for a short technical extension to get that done, I think the EU would be very happy to give it to him, and it probably wouldn't hurt his electoral chances at all.
Okay, Therese, thank you so much for reporting today from London. That's Bloomberg opinion columnist Therese Raphael. And you can watch, if you have a Bloomberg channel, you can watch and listen to every moment of the EU leaders news conference that's ongoing right now over in Brussels. You go to the Bloomberg terminal and put in the live go, and you'll be able to watch and listen to it. Coming up, U.S. senators defy China's threats and push ahead with legislation to support the protesters in Hong Kong. What the bill could mean for a trade deal with Beijing. We ask former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd next. This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and on radio.
The nights have started to draw in. And at DFS, we know that can only mean one thing. Everyone will want to spend more time at home, getting nice and cozy. You can't beat it. That's why all our sofas are handmade to order, and many are guaranteed to be delivered in time for Christmas. So you can look forward to cozying up this winter, knowing your new sofa won't let you down. DFS.
You're 169 in the queue.
I proposed on the 169. She got for the next stop.
Oh, you're my 169th greatest lover.
The number 169 never screamed going places until now. Get the Toyota Aygo X-Play for only £169 deposit, then £169 a month with 0% APR representative. Just go. Aygo.
0% APR representative on new sales of Aygo X-Play over 48 months. £169 per month. Customer deposit of £169 when proposed and approved via Access Toyota by 31st of October 2019. £3,487 and 50p optional final payment. Subject to status to over 18s. Indemnities may be required. Conditions apply. Toyota Financial Services.
These are the top buzzing stories on TuneIn.
Michelle Pfeiffer gives advice to the new Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz.
Make sure, whilst designing the costume, they consider how you're going to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Tyler Perry on whether or not he's going to make another Medea movie.
I did the farewell tour, the last tour that I did, just to say thank you to all the fans. It was amazing. It was sold out all over the country. It's been a great run, and if she has something to say, who knows? She'll show up.
This Wheel of Fortune contestant mocks his rotten family.
Blair Davis, talk about your family.
I've been trapped in a loveless marriage for the last 12 years to an old battle axe named Kim. She cursed my life with 3 stepchildren, and I have 1 rotten grandson.
Yay! Those were the top stories that are buzzing on TuneIn.
Hi, this is Brian Weber, host of NFL First and Goal, every Sunday, kicking off at 1 Eastern, only on TuneIn Premium. Be sure to listen this Sunday for the ultimate football fan experience, featuring 7 hours of commercial-free coverage of every scoring play around the NFL.
Stuck in traffic during the big game? With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to your favorite NFL team on the go. No TV required. Even during rush hour, you won't miss a single touchdown. Listen to the NFL on TuneIn Premium today.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Get social with TuneIn. Follow TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest and greatest audio happenings across the app. Explore exclusive content.
It's called Indie.
Learn about the hottest new podcasts.
The Nostalgia Mixtape, a new podcast hosted by yours truly, Savannah Shroud.
And get alerted when the big game's about to begin.
This Sunday is Championship Sunday, when we'll find out which 2 teams are going to play for the Lombardi Trophy.
Add TuneIn to your feed and be in the know when it matters most.
Major League Baseball postseason is in full swing, and TuneIn Premium puts you at field level for every...
And it's a home run!
...single...
And gone!
...game.
And that gone, a home run!
With TuneIn Premium, catch every pitch of every inning of every Major League postseason game until the final out of the World Series.
0-2 pitch, little half swing, and it hit...
At home or on the road, Major League Baseball's postseason action is on TuneIn Premium.
And that ball is gone!
Upgrade today.
In the dictionary, a podcast is this: a digital audio file made available on the internet, typically as a series, of which new installments can be received by subscribers automatically. But on TuneIn, a podcast is this.
I'm Adam Grant, and this is Work Life, my podcast with Ted. I study how to make work not suck.
And it's defined like this.
Blackout is a suspense-filled thriller from Endeavor Audio and Q-Code.
From news, sports, to pop culture, comedy, and beyond. Define your own podcast possibilities on TuneIn.
From the TuneIn Studios, I'm Fonseca with the Daily Sports Update. Always follow me to get the latest and greatest. It's simple and easy. I'm always at Fonseca Show. Don't forget, today we've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. And kickoff's going to be at 8:20 p.m. Eastern.
Got to get the bigs playing better on both sides on the offensive defensive line. It starts there. When you win, it starts there. When you
need more information or you want to find more, search NFL for news, podcast, everything, even the games. That's your TuneIn Sports Update.
TuneIn puts you on the sideline for the 2019 college football season free all year long. With college football on TuneIn, hear the home and away call for more than 140 schools live, regular season matchups and rivalry games, conference championships and bowl games, the college football playoff.
The throw, he steps up, he's going deep down the right side, Andrews.
You can listen to it all for free.
The end zone, touchdown.
At home, on campus, or on the road, hear the excitement and pageantry of college football all season long, free on TuneIn.
Home resort. And how will the president continue to criticize the Biden family for self-dealing at the same time he's doing that?
Okay, a couple different things. First off, you're not making any profit. I think we've already established that. I think some
marketing and branding opportunity.
It's a huge. I've heard that before. I guess I've been the chief now for about 9 or 10 months, and I always hear whenever we go to Mar-a-Lago, it's a huge branding opportunity. Whenever he plays, at Trump Mar-a-Lago, we play golf at Trump Bedminster. He goes to play golf at Trump up in Sterling, and everybody asks the question: is it not a huge marketing opportunity? I would simply ask you all to consider the possibility that Donald Trump's brand is probably strong enough as it is, and he doesn't need any more help on that. This is not like it's the most recognizable name in the English language and probably around the world right now. So no, that has nothing to do with it. That's why I was skeptical. I was aware of the political sort of criticism that we come under for doing it at Doral, which is why I was so surprised when the advance team called back and said that this was the perfect physical location to do this. So I get the criticisms. So does he. Face it, he'd be criticized regardless of what he chose to do. But no, there's no issue here on him profiting from this in any way, shape, or form. What's the difference between this and what we're talking about, the Bidens? Well, first of all, there's no profit here. Clearly, there's profit to the Bidens. And second of all, I think if there's one difference that you look at between the Trump family and the Biden family, Trump family made their money before they went into politics. That's a big difference. Yes, sir.
You said it's going to be done at cost. Do you have any idea, cost estimate, how much money you're looking at? And also, will it remain a G7, or do you envision Russia going out?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in terms of the cost. I do know that it was one of the ones I saw was it was almost half as much here. I don't want to butcher the numbers, but it was millions of dollars cheaper by doing it at Doral than it was at another facility, and that was roughly 50% savings. As to the G7, G8, look, that discussion is ongoing. The president has been very candid about that, about whether or not he wants to have Russia join the G7 again. They used to be members of that organization. And I think he's been fairly straightforward, not only to you folks, but to other leaders around the world, which is we go to the G7, and what dominates so much of the discussion? Russia. Okay. Russian energy, Russian military policy, the Russian economy, it dominates a lot of the discussion. Wouldn't it be better to have them inside and as part of those conversations? But I think that decision will be made later, and we'll continue to review it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. G7 summits have been held for decades, so how can you make the argument that this is the best place to hold it? Surely there were other places that this could be held, and you can't make the argument that the president's not going to profit because we can't know how much he might profit in the future, right? Yeah.
To your first point, again, I think it's the profit one. Again, he's not making any money off of this, just like he's not making any money from working here. And if you think it's going to help his brand, that's great, but I would suggest that he probably doesn't need much help promoting his brand. So we'll put the profit one aside and deal with a perfect place. I mean, who was here for the last time was at Camp David? Was that the perfect place? In fact, I understand the folks who participated in it hated it and thought it was a miserable place to have the G7. It was way too small. It was way too remote. My understanding is the media didn't like it because you had to drive an hour in a bus to get there either way.
I take your point, but there have been other G7 summits. I've attended numerous G7 summits that have been perfectly fine according to the leaders. How can the White House really make the argument that this was the only place that the G7 summit could be?
It's not the only place. It's the best place. Those are two different things, okay? But we had dates.
There's other good places without the
There's plenty of other good places in this country to hold a large event. There's no question about it. Some of the limitations, we wanted it a specific time. We wanted it in early June, so that limits it a little bit. Then there's difficulties with going various places. Some places don't have the transportation that you need. I mean, there was one place, I won't say where it was, where we actually had to figure out if we were going to have oxygen tanks for the participants because of the altitude. So yeah, there's limitations at other places. We thought of the 12 places that we looked at, and you'd recognize the names of them if we told you what they were, that this was by far and away the best choice. Yes, ma'am.
Very quickly, this is a business of optics. How is the president going to stand on a debate stage if, in fact, Vice President Biden wins the nomination and try to make an argument that he profited off of his vice presidency?
He's going to do that extraordinarily well. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you were talking about how this is the best place or one of the best places at this. Okay. So is this going to be self-contained just at Doral? Are there other hotel rooms you think you'll have to get, or is there anywhere else that you'll have to?
Yeah, one of the advantages, I understand that one of the advantages that the advance team came back with about Doral was the fact that it could be sequestered off from the rest of the city, and that nearly all of the operations could be on that one piece of property. I think the president said there's almost 900 acres there, so it's a huge facility, and we'll be able with a lot of open space. I think there's 3 golf courses, so there's a lot of space available to us, and we do anticipate the entire thing being on that campus. Now,
including hotels. They talked about additional hotel rooms. Do you think you'll have to get additional hotels involved in that?
Yeah, I would say, well, I'm not sure about this. When we talk about the delegations, for example, when we went to Biarritz, I think we were at 2 or 3 different hotels around that city. That would not be the case here. The American delegation would stay on campus. The British delegation will stay on campus. The Germans will stay on campus. And you folks will be there. Whether or not there'll be other folks who are using up hotel rooms in the Miami area, I can't speak to that.
Question about local authorities. What local authorities have you been in contact with about this?
Yeah, I haven't asked that question, but we do that as part of the advanced team. We'll do that with each of the groups that